You see, if you say stuff in a Belfast accent, you're not saying really what you mean. But I mean, what I'm literally saying is you can see your fanny. One Christmas, I was in UTV. I was not doing any news or sports results. And you're all done up like a dog's dinner with a dicky bow and all on for Christmas. And I thought, right, this Christmas I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to introduce programs with a touch of humour in it. E.T. and the Anthea Turner wig. I didn't need to say who it was. They knew by looking. Because she was like E.T. with an Anthea Turner wig. Have you heard of 3-Eye Atlas?
Is it an object moving through our solar system?
Or if it is aliens, maybe they're coming to stop World War III, like they would do in the movies.
I think sometimes the best place to start a podcast or anything is just to begin. And there's something here in the notes that I didn't know anything about you, Julian.
Right, what's that?
That you were born in England.
Well, I was actually born here.
Right.
But I spent most of my time in England in the summer, Christmas, and my mum and dad came from Kent.
Okay.
And so all my holidays were in Eastbourne on the south coast. And Christmas, it was all... My dad came from a big family. And he had 7 brothers. And 2 of the brothers married 2 girls from the Girl Guides. So that was a big family setup way back then.
I forgot to say, Julian Simmons, you're very welcome to BelTel. That's what I
Thank
said
you,
to everybody.
It's very nice to be here, I tell you.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
No.
You're an only child?
Only child, yes.
Did you feel privileged, or did you think you missed out on something?
Privileged?
Yes, being an only child.
I suppose in some ways I did miss out, but I was very lucky. I had a lot of friends when I was a kid, and I was involved in a lot of things. And then I had my cousins and everything in England, who I used to be over with quite a lot, but I didn't really identify with them. Tell you the truth, I didn't identify with them, but I had a good time in England.
Did you? I mean, obviously, you identified with people here then.
Oh, very much so.
So you yeah. I mean, because obviously the accent must have come very quick. Did you always have a Northern Ireland accent?
No, I had a mixture because Mum and Dad came from Kent.
Mm-hmm.
So, my accent was middle of the road. And then I learned that I could put on a broad Belfast accent. And that was that led on to other things.
Now, you were born in 1952 in the 27th of March. No, the notes are wrong once again.
All the notes are wrong. I'm 42 3/4, full stop.
Okay.
And I wasn't born in 1952. Where'd they get that from? What did that come from?
Well, I'll speak to the researcher on that. We'll have to sort that one out.
That's all a load of cobblers.
I'll put that down to AI.
Yes.
But I just wonder, were your parents never tempted to go back to England as the situation here deteriorated?
Well, Dad died when I was 11, and then I got my job in the travel industry, and I enjoyed being in the travel industry, and then I was in the Hollywood Players doing amateur drama, comedies. That's where I learnt that I could wield a good Belfast accent. And I was in the Hollywood Players, and then out of the blue, Air Canada, who I'd been with, I left the travel agency. I wanted to get into Air Canada, and I was in the office in Canada House in North Street. I was there for 5 years, and then Air Canada decided to close the Belfast office, and we were all 3 of us had to move to Heathrow and be employed at Heathrow, first of all in reservations and then passenger service.
Passenger service, that's on the planes?
No, that's on the ground, looking after the passengers while they boarding, meeting, greeting, check-in, handling looking after mishandled passengers, all sorts of things. But you were on the ground. I did travel on the aircraft quite a lot if there was trade missions and things like that. But and of course I was traveling on aircraft all the time, commuting between Belfast and London, sometimes 4 times a week.
Yeah, was that? I imagine dealing with passengers and dealing with people's problems, maybe especially nowadays. I imagine that could be a tough job. Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it so much, yes. And we had we dealt with all aspects of the human condition. And of course, you learn to deal with it, and you coped with humor. When you're running around at 5 o'clock in the morning, meeting aircraft coming in, and there's all sorts of situations on board, sometimes late passengers, late flights, and all that, you have to have a sense of humor to get through it all. And boy, did we have a sense of humor.
Forgive me if it's a very personal question. Just I'm struck. Your father died when you were 11.
Oh, yes.
That just must be devastating at any age. But I just imagine, I imagine, if you're slightly older, you're older, and if you're younger, perhaps memories fade. But 11 must have been very difficult.
Yeah, for my mother, I really felt it. But somehow we both coped. We got on with it, and Mum had her friends, I had my friends, and then I was working at that stage in the travel agency. So you had to pick up the pieces after a couple of days and get on with it, I mean, the worst death for me really was the death of my mother 14 years or 15 years ago. I was on TV doing Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. And when I was on a radio show with Jerry Kelly on that Christmas Eve day, the hospital phone said, could you come at once? Your mother's condition has deteriorated. So I had to leave the radio show. But the time I got up to the hospital, my mother had died. I had to deal with that, the crying nurses and everything, get them sorted. And then I had to sort out, what way am I going to play this? Because I couldn't take time off at Christmas because people knew I was on TV Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and if I hadn't been there, they would have known that something was very wrong. So I had to keep going. And on Christmas Eve, a very good friend had an undertaker friend who called in to see me while I was introducing all the programs and doing the Santa updates. And of course, he was all fascinated with being in a TV studio, and was sitting beside me asking me, did I want just Fola and what was the, all this. Gave me excellent help. But I was able then to put a facade on. My friends didn't know anything had happened until the day after Boxing Day. The only person who actually knew was Gabrielle at the time, because she was coming with me to see Mum on Christmas Eve. And I had to meet her at UTV and then get into the car and say, well, look, we're not going because, A
facade is the word you've used there. I mean, is that difficult? I mean, or maybe it's easier.
Number one, my mother would have been absolutely furious if I had ruined people's Christmases for them. And so many of my friends worship Christmas it's like an obsession with them, Christmas, like they're all going a humdinger now, and it's not even December yet, but they love Christmas. Mm-hmm. Particularly my friend Christine, who has 4 trees in the house and trains running around the bottom of the trees. If I couldn't then walk in and say, my mother's dead. They'd all been anxious about me, and so I had to keep going and go through it as if everything was hunky-dory, and then I told them after Boxing Day.
What was the reaction?
Of course, they were very upset and everything. And then, by that stage, I had the funeral all organised and it was all set up, ready to rock and roll. You want to do what your mother would have expected you to do. Did you always? You were working in Air Canada. Did you always want to be a broadcaster? No, I was in the Hollywood Players. This is before I joined Air Canada. I was in the travel agency, somebody saw me in Leave It to the Boys, which is a Northern Ireland play written by Trevor Hughes about the Troubles and the hilarity of the Troubles and everything that went on with it. And I had to sort of, I enjoyed being in that, but in the middle of it, somebody said, you should be on TV. Like, what? You should. I said, what do you mean? He says, oh, I've got a contact. I want you to write into them. Here's the name, and I'm going to tell them that you are ringing. So I did it one evening. I wrote a letter into the chairman, UTV, who it turned out was his partner or wife was the sister of a girl I used to play with when I was about 10 or 11 in the road. And she looked, my goodness, because I sent a photograph. That's Julian. And so he says, oh, well, we'll bring him in. So I was brought in one day out of the blue to go in and sit in the continuity studio and read a news bulletin. It was all death and destruction in those days. And they said to me, well, would you like to come in for 6 weeks for a trial? And I thought, all right. And that was when it all started. And
and it was news. You know, it was...
Well, the continuity people did news in those days. You did introduced all the programs, made announcements at the end of the programs, and did the news and the sports results. Me reading the sports results. A Hockle Young Farmers scored 2, Ardbow 3-11. That's a draw. I didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, I mean, you did well at it anyway.
No.
Well, can I ask, it's a question I suppose that some people might be who are listening. And whenever people are an entertainment or a host or a broadcaster, they may assume, and I'm not sure correctly at all, that the person is supremely confident. Are you supremely confident?
No, I am not. And at that stage, I certainly wasn't. I made so many hiccups, putting it politely, introducing the wrong program and everything. All that, you did all that, but then you learn through everything, and UTV stuck with me and put up with me making all the Horlickses that I did. And then 1 minute, there I was. Then they wanted me to be on every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they wanted me every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's how I had to live my life with Air Canada at that stage, because I was working at Heathrow when the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday roster started, and I had to juggle Heathrow with Belfast. And the fact, initially, I was living in the London area. I mean, I lived in Staines-on-Thames. It sounds lovely. And I had a coach direct to Heathrow from there, but all that fell apart after 9 months. The coach was cancelled, and I had to get an ordinary Green Line bus, which was horrendous because it was always late. And 9 times out of 10 in the morning, I just got taxis.
So there's a great work ethic there, obviously.
Well, I was determined that it was going to work. I mean, and I was in both jobs I loved. I loved Heathrow. I loved working with the people. It was totally outrageous what we dealt with. And putting a façade over, again, a façade. Everything is absolutely fabulous. No problem, madam. And I'm going, oh, Jesus. But, all that. So all that was good. And in many ways, it was hilarious.
It says in my notes, and again, I might be questioning my notes slightly at this stage.
Don't worry.
That you would have come across Ian Paisley quite a bit in terms of travel.
Well, he used to be on the shuttle all the time. And there was one memorable day when I was hosting, somebody was leaving Air Canada, and we had a big event for them in the Post House Hotel. And I was going home that evening. I was on TV the next day. So I did the event and charged over to Terminal 1 for the 10 to 9 British Midland flight to Belfast. And in those days, I'd got to know everybody. And I walked in, and the British Airways duty agent said, oh, Julian, are you going home? I said, that's why I'm here. He said, well, look, R830's still sitting there. Do you want to go on that? I said, well, if it's going to go now, yes. So that to get the steps back out, put the steps up, and the door opened, and of course it was a Belfast crew. Oh, Julian, what about you? Walked onto the aircraft, turned around, and there sitting in the front row is the Reverend Ian Paisley. And he said to me, was this aircraft being held up for you? I said, sir, they do that all the time. And swept on down the aisle. But I told him later on that wasn't true. And there was a well-known television personality on board who was aghast that I'd walked onto that plane and said to me, is this aircraft held for you? I said, of course, and walked on because he wasn't particularly a nice person.
I say I'll not ask who that
No.
is, although I might ask later on who that is. You know, in terms of what you were doing in UTV, you were, presenting the news and doing the continuity and stuff. I've just struck that this would have been during the Troubles.
Oh, yes.
And some very, very dark times.
Very dark.
Were people were still entitled to be entertained, but did you have to pull it back, or
Well, I did initially, especially when you're reading the news and then you're doing an intro to a soap or something right after it, you had to pull it back. But in the end, they took the news off me. They said, we're going to get somebody else to come in and read the news, and you can just do continuity your way. So that's what I did. Although there was a lot of times where the person reading news didn't turn up, and I then had to suddenly regress and do the news. And you probably know this in the industry, that when you're reading the news, it's news to you as well as everybody else. You're not given the chance to read it and go through it. It's bucked into you at the last minute, and you just have to do it.
I think I am a field newsreader myself, but I was sort of many years, I suppose, after that period.
Well, then you know what it was like then.
Yeah, so, like sometimes we at the weekend, especially, maybe we would have been left by ourselves, and you would. If there was a mistake in the script, it was you that was responsible for it.
Of course, yes.
And again, you might have been responsible for the desk and everything. And there was more to it than people.
There certainly
understand.
Was, yes.
Because that person pressing that button is you. It's not somebody you have helping out. You worked in UTV for a very long time. You're associated with UTV in everyone's minds. I think.
Absolutely, yes. Everywhere I go, people are saying, and some people saying, "Are you on tonight?" And I'm saying, "No, I'm not." UTV packed up so many years ago, and I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. I said, you haven't seen me for a couple of years. I mean, I did 18 months when ITV took over. I was in Clarendon Dock here, that way. And we were doing everything on the 8th floor of Clarendon Dock, the UTV, with just voiceovers. And they said to me, "Oh, still have your humour in it." I thought, no, well, how can I? When you're just doing a voiceover. Just keep the humour going. So I tried to, and as far as I'm concerned, it didn't really work.
But this character almost, and I'm not sure if it was a character you created or if it's really you, but I mean, my mother watched Coronation Street, so I can remember, especially on a Friday night, you were part of Coronation Street. I don't even know if Coronation Street were aware of it, but I mean, people would have tuned in before Coronation Street. So, where did that performance begin? You didn't always do it like that.
No, I did it. Well, when I first started, it was a straight intro. But then I used to hear people coming on the train into work in the morning, people talking on the train as if the characters in Coronation Street were real. And I said, it's funny the way that. So then I started, I used to say, as a lady said on the train, and then go into the accent. And then I dropped the lady on the train and just did it as me. And that's how it sort of all developed from.
Was it scripted or just ad-lib?
No, I wrote all my own stuff.
Okay.
You were given, like, say, a 30-second intro into something, or a 15-second or whatever, and then you worked it out the way you were going to say it in that 15 or 30 seconds. But you see, when I started in UTV, you'd be sitting ready to go and do your thing for 30 seconds. Say, "Julian, that last advert didn't show. You've now 1:30 on air." Well, everyone, and you're pulling stuff out of the air to fill 1:30 seconds.
And you can't afford to make mistakes.
No, well, of course, I made plenty of mistakes, but people forgave me for that. It used to be I was absolutely terrified at the start, because it was all like skidding over ice.
And the bosses on UTV, did they know you were going to do this, or did you spring it on them, or did you ask for forgiveness?
What I did was I was always doing it the official sort of continuity way. I tried to copy people I'd seen on the network when I was in London, doing it the ITV way, and I was doing that. But one Christmas, I was in UTV. I was not doing any news or sports results, and you're all done up like a dog's dinner with a dicky bow and all on for Christmas. And I thought, right, this Christmas I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to introduce programs with a touch of humour in it. And I think the first thing I ever did was an intro to the movie Ghostbusters, and I let rip there. And from that, I never looked back. And shortly after that, I was going upstairs, and I met one of the bosses on the stairs in the middle of that, between Christmas and New Year. And he said, Julian, I watched you over Christmas. He said, I thoroughly enjoyed all that. Keep that going. So I thought, oh, thank you very much, I will. And that it blossomed from there.
Can you remember what you said going into Ghostbusters?
I think something along the lines of, and if you're going upstairs and there's something nasty and smelling on the landing, who are you going to call? No, love, not the sanitary department, Ghostbusters. And that's how I got into it.
And that's how it started. Because somebody's gone through here and found out a few lines. Now, I don't even know if I don't even know if I can
throw them at me.
Well, I mean, Gail Platt looks like E.T. in an Anthea Turner wig. Did you get in trouble for that?
I didn't call her, say that she looked like. I said E.T. in the Anthea Turner wig. I didn't need to say who it was. They knew by looking. Because she was like E.T. with an Anthea Turner wig.
And there's some, I mean, obviously, it's because people struggle in a film, and I know this the production values are so high, but we sort of pretend that Tom Cruise is this character for a certain bit. But despite the production values in a soap being much lower, of course, even to this very day, we can tell that sets aren't I mean, people, as you say, think they're real. So when you say. Some girls don't realise that once a lying, cheating, two-time bigamist,
always a lying, cheating. That was Peter Barlow, who was playing away with about two different women. And that's what he was, a lying, cheating, two-timing bigamist. And that's, you see, if you say stuff in a Belfast accent, you're not saying really what you mean. You are, I mean, like, Liz McDonald walking around the town in those frocks she's on, you can see everything she had for her dinner, Well, you know what I'm saying, but I'm not saying it.
Yeah, I suppose younger listeners might be wondering. They have to Google Liz McDonald now.
Well, I'm not sure they know. But I mean, what I'm literally saying is you can see her fanny. But when I say you can see everything she had for her dinner, and there was only once ever 40 complaints one night when I said something about Deirdre Barlow and Deb. They were having an affair, and it was all going to be hot stuff that night. And I was saying something along the lines, but now on UTV, it's going to be big hot stuff up the stairs. Legs are going to be flung to the moon in Coronation Street. Well, disgusted a belly home got on. I've never heard the likes of that. But there was that, but there was never really. Disgusted a belly home was the only one that kept ringing all the time, hated everything.
I mean, do you remember Free Deirdre Rashid?
Yes, I do.
That was how serious people took it. I mean, some people...
People were stopping me in the street about that, so incensed. And I said, well, you see, I don't actually write the scripts. I only present the programme. Oh, no, Julian, it's not you, but it's disgusting. All that she is going through that and she never done nothing to nobody. All this,
Do you think... I mean, clearly people still watch Coronation Street, Emmerdale, EastEnders, but they're not what they used to be.
No, I mean, it's all bodies onto the back entry and all this now, all that sort of thing, and nasty goings on. It used to be, it used to be so ridiculous. Annie Walker getting new monogrammed carpet and all. Oh, my new monogrammed carpet. You'll have to come round and see it. And then it turned out that the monogrammed carpet was a leftover bit from a pub the other side of town. And it was the initials of the pub. That she thought it was Annie Walker, but it wasn't. you know.
But there were characters, I suppose, that, yes, they may have been larger than life in the soaps, but nevertheless, for people maybe aware of these communities, I mean, the working class suburbs of Manchester,
yes, of course.
they may have seen a lot more real, perhaps, than the characters in the soaps today.
Oh, absolutely. I would say so. I would say so. I mean, the characters today are all more switched on about life, and there's a whole lot going on. A lot more. I'm not going to say innuendo. Well, more sexual stuff. You know, that maybe they didn't. It was only hinted at.
Yeah, you just walked up the stairs.
Yes, absolutely. You just went up the stairs, but now you go into the bedroom and under the sheets with them.
Things change. You did mention when ITV, I mean, took over Ulster Television, UTV was sold to ITV PLC, and I mean, we don't really need to know the ins and outs of the financial situation, because I don't know because people, I suppose, would not really realize, because UTV was broadcast on the ITV channel, of course, and you, I mean, slowly, I mean, did you lasted for a little while into the new dispensation?
Yes, Havelock House kept going, and then they said on this particular date we were changing over to the ITV way. And then by the time we then moved to the new building at Clarendon Dock, that was when it all really happened. And you were doing everything just as voiceovers and pre-recording everything. You weren't doing anything live anymore. So, I mean, when you came to the end of the program and you were doing Stay With Us here in UTV for whatever it is, and you could talk about what had just happened in the program, but you couldn't do that then, because you weren't watching the program with the viewers.
So you sat and watched, you watched the TV?
Well, you're in a big studio like this with all the monitors, and all the programs were on, and you were in that. You were in that for the duration of your shift. Okay, you could get out and go down to the sweet machine or something, but you were in there the whole time, so you had to be fully aware of what was going on always.
Do you miss TV?
I miss the way it used to be, but I mean, I know it will not be happening now, and I don't miss. I mean, I enjoyed everybody I worked with from ITV, but I don't miss it as much as I miss the way UTV used to be, you know. And I mean, I miss UTV as it used to be, and I miss Air Canada as it used to be. But with Air Canada, I still go over and see some of the friends I work with 4 times a year for lunch or something, you know.
It's strange, because I mean, parents have been telling me this. She said, do you remember your parents told you you're watching too much TV? And then
remember all that, yes.
And they said, but now I wish the children would watch a bit of TV.
They're not watching UTV anymore. They're watching Instagram and YouTube and everything else.
And some people talked about, Netflix and everything else, but very quickly that, I mean, it's still a massive thing, but as you said, now it's just 30-second video of somebody falling. Exactly.
I mean, that's the way it's all gone, and that's the entertainment that is looked for. Except maybe I'm a celebrity or something like that when they get a big viewership.
What do you add for yourself now? Because you're obviously still very active and very, very. You like working. I get that impression.
Well, I do, but I mean, the thing is, people still want me to work. People still want me to host their events or do stuff like the Royal Television Society Awards recently, and all stuff like that. And Linda Bryan's has now got a chat show on NVTV, so I'm going to be on that on Friday and all that. So there's a lot of that going on, and DJing too.
Were you always a DJ? Was this a
It was a fluke, because I used to be on Carolyn Stewart's Friday show in the afternoon, and I'd go in and talk about what was coming on TV over the weekend. And she and I had such a laugh. And then she asked me one day to come to one of her gigs, and I used to go to a few gigs with her. And many a time she liked to leave the DJ booth and go out onto the floor and have a boogie with somebody, and leaving me with everything. and we're coming to the end of I'm going, break. And then I learned how to do some of the mixes. So that was it. That's how it started.
And you're still going strong on it. What do you think the future holds?
Well, I don't think we've got a very big future coming. I really do, because we're on the verge of World War III, aren't we?
Many people believe that.
That's it. And also, I wonder, can I talk about this? Have you heard of 3-Eye Atlas? And you're a newsman. Have you heard of 3-Eye Atlas?
Is it an object moving through our solar system?
Yes, it's arrived into our solar system. It's gone round the other side of the sun, and it's coming out back up to us, and it'll be closest at the 19th of December, I think. And it's not an asteroid, apparently. It's the size of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be an alien craft, they say. Professors in America, when I was in Canada recently, they're on TV, they're talking about 3-Eye Atlas. Here in the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland, not one word about 3-Eye Atlas, and it's really close into us now.
Well, you've thrown in a challenge there now. I mean, I did look at it in terms of a podcast, and I thought to myself, yeah, I mean, maybe I should get somebody on that. And I think I did send an email out to someone, but they didn't get back to me.
There seems to be a news blanket in the United Kingdom, so that not a word has been said. I mean, I've talked to my friends, and they've looked at me as if I've horns, saying that this is about to happen. And I'm thinking, I went all Star Trek, and I think, what if it is aliens? Maybe they're coming to stop World War III, like they would do in the movies. You know, don't fight sort of thing. But now I don't know.
Well, the object does exist.
It does.
It is in our solar system.
And they're all talking about it in America on the news and everything else, but not a word in the UK.
Well, I promise, I will look at it on this podcast. I think the thing is, if it starts to slow down, then I think people will.
Well, it's already changed its course 2 or 3 times. You know that. And it fired into the sun, right? It fired into the sun, and the sun has now blasted out what they call it. And it's
a solar flare.
Solar flare, which is coming, as I think it's already been round Earth.
Yeah. Now, we did cover that solar flare was discussed on the news because
it's passed, has it?
Well, the solar flare, I think if memory serves. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't?
No. That's all been very nice. A nice friendly chat with you, which was very pleasant.
We'll leave it there. Julian Simmons, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.